I want you to try a thought experiment with me. Imagine, just for a moment, that empathy isn't a gift.
Yeah.
We're raised to believe it's this ultimate virtue, right?
Mm-hmm.
The ability to stand in someone else's shoes, to, feel their pain, to understand their perspective. It's supposed to be the glue of society.
Right. It's what makes us human.
Exactly. But what if we flip that? What if empathy wasn't a choice you made to be a good person? What if it was an involuntary reflex? What if it was a curse?
It's a really disturbing premise, but it's the exact right place to start for this deep dive.
Yeah.
Because we usually think of empathy as, I feel for you.
Sure.
But the kind of empathy we are talking about today is I am you. And when the person you are becoming is a monster, that empathy becomes a source of just incredible danger.
Yes. I want you, our listener, to imagine standing in the hallway of a silent suburban house. From the outside, it looks like the American dream. Manicured lawn, 2 cars, a swing set in the back.
Totally.
But inside, the air is cold. It smells like copper and furniture polish.
Mm-hmm.
A family have been brutally murdered in their beds. And you, standing there in the dark, you have this burden. You have the ability, no, the compulsion, to perfectly reconstruct the killer's every move.
Wow.
You don't just see the blood spatter on the wall. You feel the rage that caused it. You feel the rhythm of the night. You feel exactly what the predator felt in that moment.
That is the nightmare scenario. And it brings us right to the core of the case files we are opening today. We are looking at the Tooth Fairy investigation.
Yeah.
And this isn't just a police procedural. It's a psychological horror story. We're going to be analyzing a series of these horrific family annihilations in Birmingham and Atlanta that are just completely baffling the FBI.
And to do this justice, we have a stack of sources that is, quite frankly, difficult to read.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking detailed FBI case files, autopsy protocols that are incredibly graphic.
Very graphic. Personal diaries of the victims, which is just heartbreaking. Surveillance logs and even transcripts of interviews with the criminally insane.
So our mission today is to unpack the methodology of the investigator, Will Graham. He's the man with the curse, this pure empathy. But we also have to reconstruct the psychology of the killer he's hunting.
And the sources, they paint this terrifying picture of 2 men, the hunter and the monster, who are on a collision course. And the really scary part is seeing how much they actually have in common.
Okay, so let's unpack this. We have to start with the context because there is a literal ticking clock in this case. This isn't some cold case where you have years to sift through evidence.
No, not at all. The killer is on a schedule, a very rigid one.
So we're looking at 2 specific tragedies to start. The first is the Jacoby family in Birmingham, Alabama. They were murdered on June 28th.
Right. And then, exactly 1 month later, the Leeds family in Atlanta was killed on July 26th.
Okay, so if you're just looking at those dates, you might think it's a coincidence. But if you look at a calendar for that year, those dates, they're not random at all.
They line up with the moon.
The full moon.
Precisely. It's a lunar cycle. The killer strikes during the whole moon. The Jacobys died on a full moon. The Leedses died on a full moon. And the next one is coming up fast.
August 25th.
August 25th. And that just transforms the investigation. It's not just find the guy, it's find the guy before the moon gets full again. It creates this unbearable deadline. The FBI knows with mathematical certainty that if they don't find this man by August 25th, another family is going to die.
That pressure is just unimaginable. And that brings us to Will Graham. When we meet him in the sources, he's not a cop. In fact, he's about as far away from police work as you can possibly get.
He's in hiding, really, from himself.
He's retired, living in the Florida Keys, a place called Marathon. And his job, he's repairing boat motors for a living.
It sounds like paradise, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Sun, saltwater, mechanical work. But you have to look at why he's there. It's a self-imposed exile. Graham is a forensic specialist, but his skill set is unique. In the Bureau, they talk about his ability to project. He can literally suppress his own ego, his own self, and let the evidence guide his imagination until he is thinking the killer's thoughts. He fills in the gaps of the crime scene with his own psyche.
It's like method acting, but for murder.
That's a great analogy. But method actors have a script. Graham he's improvising with violence. And it has broken him before badly.
And he's trying to build a new life. He's living this quiet life with his wife, Molly, and his stepson, Willie. He's just trying to be normal. He's trying to wash the blood off his hands,
But he can't. He carries a physical reminder of the cost. The sources mention a looping scar on his stomach.
Yeah, let's talk about that scar, because it's crucial backstory. It's a legacy from his capture of Dr. Hannibal Lecter.
Yes. And this is so important for the listener to understand. Graham didn't catch Lecter, who we all know is this brilliant psychiatrist and cannibalistic serial killer. He didn't catch him by finding a fingerprint or a dropped wallet. He caught him by thinking like him. He was just talking to him about a case, and he had this intuitive flash. He just knew. He saw the monster behind the mask. And Lecter, realizing he'd been seen, attacked him right then and there.
He nearly disemboweled him.
With a linoleum knife.
Ugh, that detail, a linoleum knife. It's so gritty. It's not a clean surgical cut. It's this jagged, messy attempt to just tear him open.
Exactly. So when Jack Crawford, his old boss from the FBI, shows up on that beach in Florida, Graham is terrified. He knows exactly what Crawford wants.
And he doesn't want to do it.
He really doesn't. Graham actually uses this very specific phrase in the transcript that gave me chills. He tells Crawford he doesn't want to let the thinking in.
Let the thinking in.
Wow. Think about that phrasing for a second. It implies that the profiling process isn't something he does internally. It's an invasion. It's like letting a virus into your system. He sees this empathy as a form of contamination.
But Crawford is a master manipulator.
Yes.
He doesn't order Graham to come back. He doesn't beg.
Yep.
He just plays the trump card.
He shows him the photos.
Yeah. He lays the crime scene photos of the Leeds family right there on the table in the Florida sunshine. The happy family photos next to the aftermath.
It's the burden of capability. Crawford knows that Graham is an empath. Graham can't look at those photos and just see evidence. He sees the terror in their faces. He feels the loss.
Crawford is basically saying, if you stay here on your beach and another family dies next month, how peaceful is this paradise going to feel then?
And it works. He knows the guilt will destroy his sanctuary anyway.
So he packs his bag, he leaves Molly and Willie, he leaves the sunlight and goes to Atlanta. And this is where we need to walk the listener through the crime scene. This part of the source material is heavy, so we need to be respectful but detailed.
Agreed. We are going inside the Leeds house in Atlanta. Graham goes there at night. This is his process. He specifically requests to be alone.
Right. No cops, no technicians, no distractions.
He wants to feel the atmosphere of the murder house. He wants to hear its story.
The descriptions in the files here are incredibly vivid. It's so sensory. He smells the furniture polish the mother used. He hears the hum of the refrigerator.
It's those mundane details that make it so terrifying. It's a normal house where something profoundly abnormal happened.
So Graham sits in the kitchen. He starts his reconstruction. He's looking at the back door. The killer didn't smash a window. He didn't kick the door down. The entry was surgical.
That's the word for it, surgical.
The killer used a glass cutter and a suction cup.
Right. He cut a perfect circle in the glass, used the suction cup to pull it out, reached in, and unlocked the door. That tells Graham and us so much about this predator. This isn't a frenzy. This isn't a drug-fueled break-in.
No, this is a mission.
Yeah.
This is cold, calculated. He's calm. He's in the house with them while they sleep, and he's completely in control.
From the very first second.
And the attack itself. Graham tracks the killer's movements. He went to the master bedroom first.
It's a tactical decision.
Oh.
He cut Mr. Leeds' throat immediately. You take out the protector first. The father is the biggest physical threat.
Once he's incapacitated, the killer shoots Mrs. Leeds to disable her. But here's where it gets really, really disturbing. The files mention an audience.
Yeah, this is the part that it's hard to read. The killer didn't just kill them where they lay. After the family was dead, he moved the bodies.
He propped the children up against the wall to face the parents' bed. He created a theater.
It's a macabre tableau. He wants witnesses, but not living witnesses. He wants dead eyes watching him. And that connects directly to the most significant psychological clue at the entire scene. The mirrors.
The mirrors. Okay, let's unpack this. The killer smashed every mirror in the house. But he didn't just break them in a fit of rage.
No, it was methodical. He used the shards.
He selected specific jagged pieces of mirror. The autopsy reports show he placed pieces of mirror over the victim's eyes. He even placed mirror shards on their bodies in intimate places.
So the question is why? Why mirrors?
Exactly. What is the psychological drive there?
Oh.
So specific.
Graham and the behavioral science unit discuss this extensively in the files. And the working theory is that the killer hates his own reflection. He smashes the mirror so he doesn't have to see himself as he is. Perhaps he perceives himself as disfigured or monstrous.
Okay, that makes a certain kind of sense. Shame.
But, and this is the key, he also has a deep narcissistic need to be seen. So he places the mirrors on the victims because he wants to see himself reflected in their dead eyes. He wants to see himself as the powerful entity he believes he is becoming.
So it's I hate who I am, but I love who I am becoming. It's profound shame and cosmic grandeur all at the same time.
Exactly. It's a duality. He needs to see himself, but only in this specific context, the context of total dominance and transformation.
Now, despite the gloves and the careful entry, he did leave evidence, physical evidence, and it's gruesome.
He left bite marks, and the killer has a very distinct dentition. The source describes it as snaggle-toothed, crooked. He bites the victims, specifically the women.
But the FBI analysts, they know something really important. These aren't typical sexual sadist bites. What's the distinction? I mean, how do you even tell the difference between bite marks?
So usually in sexual assault cases that involve biting, you see what are called suck marks. There's bruising around the bite. It's an eroticized injury. These are different. These are ripping bites. It's a fighting pattern.
Like an animal?
Exactly like an animal. It's about tearing flesh. It's not about sex in the traditional sense. It's about consumption and possession. He's claiming them.
And then there's the fingerprint, a single partial print. And where they found it, I mean, wow. It was on the eyeball of one of the children.
That detail it proves his compulsion. A fingerprint on an eyeball. It tells us that at some point in that room, the killer took off his gloves.
Why? Why risk that?
He needed to touch them directly. The theory is that he needed to open their eyes so they could watch. It shows this overwhelming need for contact that overrode his caution. That single slip taking off the glove to touch the eye, that's the thread Graham has to pull on. It's the flaw in his perfect armor.
So we have this profile building up. A man who is calculated but primal, who hates his reflection but needs to be seen. Now, for the listener, we're going to step behind the curtain. The police don't know who this is yet, but the source material reveals the monster. We know his name is Francis Dollarhide.
Yes, and the contrast between his inner life and his outer life is just staggering. If you passed Francis Dollarhide on the street, you wouldn't look twice. Or maybe you would, but only for a second.
He works at a film processing lab in St. Louis. He's a gateway manager. He's physically strong. He works in the darkroom. He is, to all intents and purposes, completely socially isolated.
And he has a physical deformity, which goes a long way to explaining the mirror smashing. He was born with a hair lip and a cleft palate.
Ah.
The repair work was done, but it left him with a flattened nose and scars. And he is incredibly self-conscious about his speech. The files say he avoids words with certain sounds, sibilants and fricatives, because he feels he sounds monstrous when he says them.
So that deformity, that seems to be the root of his isolation. He feels he was born broken.
He feels he was born a monster, so he decided to lean into it. He decided to become a god, and we absolutely have to talk about the grandmother influence. He lives in his dead grandmother's house, this big, isolated place, and he keeps it exactly as she left it.
Down to the false teeth in a glass of water by the bed? That detail is so specific and so creepy, it implies he's still living under her rule, even though she's dead.
Oh, he is. The files suggest she was a tyrant in his life, the source of his trauma. But he has found a way to transcend his broken self. And this brings us to The Becoming.
The Becoming.
Dollarhide is obsessed with The Pounting by William Blake.
The Great Red Dragon and the Woman Clothed with the Sun.
That's the one. For those who haven't seen it, visualize this massive, muscular dragon with great wings just hovering over a woman, completely dominating her. It's a powerful, terrifying image of strength. And Dollarhide doesn't just admire the art, he believes he is becoming the dragon.
So this isn't just a nickname he gave himself. He's not just a guy who calls himself the dragon.
Yeah.
He literally believes he is transforming.
Correct. He doesn't see himself as a man named Francis anymore. He sees himself as a vessel for this entity. And the murders, the shattering of these families, are a transformation ritual. He believes that by destroying them, he absorbs their radiance. He is fueling his own metamorphosis.
The source material describes his private rituals in that house. It's chilling. He wears a kimono, he projects films, and this is where his job comes in. He works at a film processing lab. That's how he finds his victims.
It's the ultimate predation. He has access to home movies. And remember, this is before digital cameras. People sent in their Super 8 films of family vacations, birthdays, all these happy moments.
And Dollarhide sits in the darkroom and watches them. He selects the families that look the happiest, the most idyllic.
He watches happy families and decides to destroy them. It's envy and destruction combined. He wants what they have, but he knows he can't be part of it, so he consumes it instead.
And he stalks them. He doesn't just pick them from the film. He goes to their houses. He cases the joint. And he deals with the protectors first, the pets.
Which is such a classic indicator. The lead's dog was stabbed. The Jacoby's cat was strangled. He eliminates the alarm systems, whether they're biological or electronic.
But there's a detail in the source about his hallucinations that's just fascinating. He critiques his own performance.
Yeah, that's wild.
He projects films of the murders he committed, because he films them, and he gets angry at himself if he feels he lacked aesthetic distance.
He wants to be a god, but he feels he acted like a beast. He wants the violence to be divine, not messy. He's a perfectionist in his madness.
So he's got this whole mythology built up. Now, back to the investigation. Graham doesn't know Dollarhide's name yet. He's grasping at straws. And in his desperation, he decides to do something that everyone warns him against.
He decides to visit the man who put him in the hospital. He goes to see Hannibal Lecter.
This is the Nekia, right? That's the mythological term for the descent into the underworld to consult the dead.
That's it exactly. Graham needs the perspective of an intelligent psychopath to understand the Tooth Fairy. He needs to know how a monster thinks, and he knows Lecter is the premier expert.
So the meeting is set in the asylum, the Chesapeake State Hospital. It's high security. There's a net across the cell so Lecter can't throw things or bite.
And Lecter is asleep with a cookbook when Graham arrives. Just that image, a cannibal with a cookbook, is pure dark humor.
Lecter's polite, but it's a predatory politeness. He immediately mocks Graham. He comments on his cheap aftershave, his fear. He says he can smell the fear on him.
But Graham is there for a reason. He shows Lecter the file, and Lecter, being Lecter, spots something Graham missed almost immediately.
He points out the yard.
Yes. Lecter asks about the grounds around the houses. He deduces that if the killer is obsessed with the moon, and if he is performing a ritual, he needs privacy outside the house. He needs a place to watch, to prepare, maybe to wash the blood off in the moonlight. This implies a specific type of property layout secluded, with cover.
It's a brilliant insight. But then Lecter, he twists the knife. He asks Graham that question. Do you know how you caught me?
That is the absolute crux of their relationship. Lecter asserts that they are exactly alike. He claims Graham didn't catch him through standard police work, but because Graham is just as insane as Lecter is, they share the same twisted wavelength.
And the scary thing is, Graham knows he's partially right. The source reveals how Graham actually caught Lecter. It wasn't fingerprints. It was a coincidence involving a medical illustration called The Wound Man.
Right. This needs a quick explanation because it's a fantastic detail. The Wound Man is a medieval medical diagram. It shows a human figure with all the various injuries a person could sustain in battle, arrows, cuts, stabs. It was used to teach surgeons.
And Graham saw a victim who had imposed to match this diagram exactly.
Exactly. And Graham had this flash of memory, remembering he saw that same obscure diagram in Dr. Lecter's office. It was a leap of intuition or pure empathy, connecting the art to the crime. And Lecter considers that a bond between them. He thinks they are soulmates in this really twisted way.
So Graham leaves the asylum, shaken, but with a new lead. He goes to the first crime scene, the Jacoby house in Birmingham. He's looking for that outside privacy that Lecter mentioned.
And he finds it. He finds a tree stand in the woods behind the house, a perfect vantage point where someone could sit and watch the family for hours, totally unseen. And on the tree bark, he finds a carving.
A symbol, a Chinese character.
The experts identify it as a mahjong symbol that represents the red dragon.
This is the breakthrough.
It is. It's the first tangible link between the killer's internal fantasy world, the dragon, and the real world. He isn't just a random killer. He is acting out a very specific mythology.
And up in that tree, high up, Graham finds a discarded soda can. It's been there for weeks, but it gives him something huge. A partial nose print and sweat samples.
This is where forensic science saves the day. The sweat allows them to determine that the killer is a non-secretor.
Can you explain that term for the listeners? Non-secretor? It sounds really technical.
Sure, it's Forensic Biology 101. About 80% of the population are secretors, which means their blood type antigens are present in their other bodily fluids like saliva, sweat, and so on.
So if you find saliva from a secretor, you know their blood type.
Exactly. But Dollarhide is a non-secretor. His blood type doesn't show up in his sweat, and that helps because it immediately eliminates 80% of the male population. If they get a suspect and he's a secretor, they know it's not him. It's a massive filter for the FBI.
Okay, that makes sense. But while Graham is hunting in the woods, the plot is thickening back at the asylum. Lecter hasn't just been helpful. He's been busy.
This is where the story pivots from a hunt to an active threat against Graham himself. A note is found in Lecter's cell. It was hidden inside a roll of toilet paper. The killer, Dollarhide, has written to Lecter.
He signs it Avid Fan, a fan letter from one monster to another. He expresses admiration, says he feels a kinship. He talks about what I am becoming. But the signature, he didn't sign it with a pen, did he?
No, he signed it with a bite mark, but the analysis shows it wasn't his own teeth.
What? He used his grandmother's dentures to bite the paper. That layer of psychosis, using the dead matriarch's teeth as his personal seal, is just disturbing on so many levels. It connects right back to that theme of family trauma and her control over him.
Unbelievable. The note contains a code. It has incomplete instructions for a reply via the National Tabler, which is this trashy tabloid newspaper.
And the FBI realizes that Lecter has already sent a reply.
So now it's a race. The FBI codebreakers are trying to crack Lecter's message. They realize it's a book code. This means the numbers refer to specific pages and lines of a book both men possess.
They struggle until they identify the book. It had to be something Lecter would have in his cell. I believe the source says it was a sophisticated French cookbook, which is just so perfectly Lecter.
Of course it was. Once they have the book, they decode the message, and the message is a betrayal on the highest order.
Lecter didn't send philosophical advice. He sent an address. The message reads, Graham Home Marathon, Florida. Save yourself. Kill them all. Let's just pause on the weight of that. Lecter has given the Tooth Fairy Will Graham's home address. He has pointed this human weapon directly at Graham's wife and child.
He's punishing Graham for catching him and for daring to ask for help. It's pure malevolent spite.
The hunter becomes the hunted. Immediately, the entire dynamic shifts. Graham's family, Molly and his stepson Willie, have to be evacuated. They're moved to a safe house near Washington, and Graham has to have this heartbreaking conversation with Willie.
Willie didn't know about Graham's past. He didn't know he was in a mental hospital. He certainly didn't know Graham had killed a man before, a killer named Garrett Jacob Hobbs.
And Graham has to strip away his own mask. He has to admit to this boy that he has darkness in him, that killing, it breaks you.
It's a total loss of innocence for the boy, and a moment of deep shame for Graham. He wanted to be the boat motor guy, not the killer cop. He wanted to be a clean, good father figure.
And he realizes he can't be. To protect them, he has to be the killer again.
And then there's that scene at the gun range. This, to me, is the tragic heart of the story. Graham takes Molly to the range. He has to teach her how to shoot.
And not just target practice. He is teaching her combat shooting. He upgrades her from a little .22 caliber, which is a varmint gun, to a massive .44 Bulldog revolver. And the source mentions the ammunition, specifically Glaser safety slugs. Why those? What's special about them?
A Glaser safety slug is a pre-fragmented projectile. It's basically a hollow copper cup filled with tiny birdshot and sealed with a polymer ball. When it hits a soft target like a human torso, it bursts. It dumps 100% of its energy instantly.
So it creates a massive, devastating wound.
Massive. But, crucially, it doesn't overpenetrate. It won't go through a wall and hit a neighbor. It is designed for one thing and one thing only. Close-quarter slaughter. It's a man-stopper.
The symbolism is just, it's so stark. Graham is stripping away his wife's innocence. He is forcing the person he loves most in the world to prepare to commit homicide just to survive.
And the rangemaster, he notes the look on Graham's face, the sadness. Graham knows he has brought this darkness into their lives. The dragon is already winning in a sense because he has corrupted their peace. He has turned a mother into a soldier.
So with his family in hiding and the full moon just around the corner, the FBI decides to set a trap. They can't find Dollarhide, so they have to make him show himself.
The strategy is incredibly high risk. They decide to use the National Tatler, the same communication channel the killer uses. They plan to plant a fake interview with Graham. The goal is to enrage the killer, to insult him.
They use this sleazy tabloid reporter, Freddie Lowndes, who has been hounding Graham. Lowndes previously photographed Graham secretly at the asylum and ran a picture with the caption, "Crazy Guts Cop."
A real bottom feeder.
So they use him. They have Lowndes publish this article where Graham describes the Tooth Fairy not as a powerful dragon, but as a pathetic, impotent homosexual pervert.
They are attacking his ego. They are attacking the dragon directly. Graham calls him an imaginative sexual pervert. He belittles the fantasy. He knows this will drive Dollarhide into a white-hot fury.
The hope is that he'll make a mistake.
Right.
Or more likely that he'll try to attack Graham, who is now acting as the bait.
It's a desperate gambit. Graham acknowledges the risk. He knows mocking the red dragon might get him killed, but it's the only lead they have to stop the slaughter before the August full moon. They are poking a tiger just to see which way it jumps.
So let's just look at where we stand. The killer has a name, Dollarhide, but only to us, the listeners. To the FBI, he is still a ghost. Graham is fraying at the edges, psychologically torturing himself to get inside this man's head.
His family is in hiding, learning to use lethal force to defend themselves, and a trap is set in the tabloids, baiting a monster to come out of the shadows.
And we have to ask ourselves that question Lecter posed. Lecter claims the only reason Graham catches monsters is because he is one himself. As we see Graham pushing his wife to fire those lethal rounds at a silhouette target, as we see him manipulating the press to go to kill her, we have to wonder, is he right?
Has the Red Dragon already won by destroying the sanctuary Graham built for his family? Is empathy that special thing he has? Is it really a form of contamination that you can never really wash off?
It suggests that to fight the dragon, you have to become something like it. And the cost of that transformation is, well, it's your own humanity. It's that old Nietzsche quote, isn't it? When you gaze long into an abyss, the abyss also gazes into you.
And Graham is deep in the abyss now, deeper than ever before.
That is a chilling thought to leave with. We've unpacked the files, we've walked through the crime scenes, and we've stared into the face of the killer. And the line between the good guys and the bad guys, it's a lot blurrier than we like to admit.
Indeed. Sometimes the only difference is which direction the weapon is pointed.